the Green Party, in my view, have shown a real evil in their message that New Zealand's problems are that other people have succeeded, and if you vote for them, they will take people's money and give it to you. They are seeking to take the dark underbelly of New Zealand's otherwise happy culture, being tall poppy syndrome, and make it the official government policy. The Beatles were joking, I think, when they said that if you die, you should declare the pennies on your eyes. But the Green Party are not joking when they say they're going to tax you even after death with an inheritance tax. And that flies in the face of what most New Zealanders work for through their lives, is to leave something for their children to have a better life than they had had. Now even that is not sacred and has become taxable. That is in line with additional taxes on income at 45%, taxes on your house, and really a culture that opposes success. It says that if people have done well, then they're fair game. We actually need more success, more billion-dollar companies, more high-paying jobs, more exports, and more people prepared to take a risk. Nobody forces any family to invest in their small business using the equity on their home that their children sleep on. However, many families do take those kinds of risks to build a family business, and if they succeed, they shouldn't be punished. They should be able to keep the benefits of their success, not become public enemy number one, as we've seen with this so-called greed crisis. The real greed is wanting to go to the ballot box and vote to be given other people's money at their expense.
Just on the wealth tax idea, I mean, do you accept there is this kind of almost global sort of frustration, especially in younger generations, around not feeling they have a fair deal, and I mean, do you accept that as a legitimate concern for people to have, and what would be your sort of response to that?
Yeah, people are frustrated because income growth has been very weak and asset appreciation has been strong because there's been too much inflation in the world. My suggestion is we need to get inflation under control. That's largely done. Then we need to remove the red tape and unlock our potential to grow wages. If your solution is just to chip away at those who may have made some money in the past, there's no long-term future in that. That is just squeezing the pips until they're dry, and then none of us have anything. If we choose to be a country that scares away people who try, then we'll just all be poorer. There's no long-term future in trying to divide the pie a different way to get a few votes and stay in power for another 3 years.
Are we overtaxing income in relation to capital?
No, because capital produces a stream of income, so you can't actually tax income without taxing capital. Some people think you should tax the stock of capital and the flow of income it produces. I say that's double taxation.
I mean, do you think that wealth inequality is a problem, like in the sense that that is going to lead to greater societal stability, or do you disagree with that idea?
Wealth inequality is not a problem so long as all people have the opportunity to do better. And that's why education matters, that's why infrastructure matters, that's why the housing market has to be functional and affordable. But the fact that one person has made $1 billion, that doesn't actually take away from anyone else. If you think about the people who have become very wealthy in New Zealand, they've all started from nothing. Graham Hart was a tow truck driver. The Mowbrays grew up relatively poor in rural Waikato and built $1 billion company. Rod Drury was not a wealthy guy, but he has created $1 billion company that succeeds all over the world. We should want more of that success. People succeeding is not a problem for New Zealand. In fact, it's a solution, because every time somebody builds $1 billion company, they create higher paying, more interesting jobs in our country, and they inspire other Kiwis that maybe they could do the same through blood, sweat, tears and imagination. Maybe more of us can have that success, and it doesn't matter if you're building a small electrical services company like some people I met door knocking yesterday, or if you're building a multi-billion-dollar giant killer that takes on the best in the world. What matters is that we have a culture that celebrates success, a nation of winners, not a nation that drags people down for their success, which is what the Greens really are producing. Their idea is that your problems are caused by someone else's success, but if you vote for them, they'll drag them down.
Do there need to be more tax revenue sources, though? I mean, even Singapore is having trouble keeping its government spending below 20% of GDP.
Well, New Zealand has 32.9% of the economy taken in tax. That is right in the middle of the OECD, the developed nations, and it's one of the highest taxes on the Pacific Rim, which is probably more relevant. So you look at Singapore at 20%, we're at about 33%, Australia's a bit lower than us, Japan and Canada are a bit higher. We're actually in the middle, towards the top of the Pacific Rim nations as taxes. We don't have a shortage of tax. We do have real problems with the efficiency of government, and that's why the Ag Party is going to be campaigning on a smaller, more efficient government.
Will wealthy people leave this country if they're made to pay more tax?
Some will, some won't. Some people will choose to invest elsewhere when they would have invested here. But we know, for example, that if you put a tax on alcohol, then people will buy less alcohol. If you put a tax on working, people will work less. If you put a tax on investing, people will invest less. It would be strange if taking more of people's money didn't make them change their behaviour.